Michael and this is DMS 51412.
Hi, I'm Paul and we're restoring her back to her former glory.
Hi, I'm Scott. Jump on board and join us on our journey.
And I'm Johnny, and welcome to Destination DMU.
Right guys, welcome back to episode 12, our new year, new start. Just finishing off basically what we didn't get done last year, which is this little bit to the end of the unit, which we couldn't quite manage to get done, but we're planning on finishing it, getting these bolts in here on the window frame. It's a little sundry job, plus finishing the roof domes. But the main thing is going to be getting the roof back in up top there and finishing the curve at the back on the metalwork, just getting that all into place. And in this episode you're mainly going to see that get finished and the blue go on to the DMU as well, so it will all be uniform this side before we then refit and start on the next side.
Yeah. So as well as those things, we've got the roof dome at the front of the DMU that's had quite a lot of work done on it. That's kind of like going on in the background, but you will see at some point, maybe not this video, but when we come to fit it on, Paul will talk you through all the work he's done, because that has pretty much been his baby. So yeah, we're hoping to get this all in blue by the end of this video. Ambitious goal, admittedly, but we got 3 days to do it. That's the days we've assigned to it, and then that should put us in a good position to then hopefully get these windows in and finally kind of finish off this side, bar the last coat of the gloss. And then we will obviously start moving on to the other side. Scott will be, while we're doing our jobs, he'll be starting to strip down those aluminium doors on that side. So just then obviously accelerating our progress. So when we do get there, when you see all the doors stripped, that he's been responsible for that along with Paul. They're working in the background doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's get into it, get some work done, and let's get this side of the DMU watertight.
So back again in the YouTube videos. I'm going to be doing some resin and fiberglass work on the roof dome for the front of the DMU. I'm going to sort of do it in stages where rough around the edges, just do little patches and then just make some resin up for it. Some nice little layers, and then we'll go from there with layers and whatnot, but we'll see how it goes.
Right guys, so now we're going to be cracking on with putting the roof in here. I'll grab a little demonstrator piece. So before we do this, we paint the back of them, so it's already pre-painted. That way it just stops rust coming up the back, won't we, in the future, so thus eliminating this problem, or at least slowing it down majorly. So we'll just put our roof in here, weld it, top and bottom, getting rid of that horrible gap. Me and Johnny also have a clamp that we've made, which is drill a couple of holes through the roof, get a ratchet strap, pull it through to the other side and hook it onto the frame, and then it pulls in our it pulls the roof in on a nice flat even surface. So it's like a big bit that goes across here, pulls it across evenly, pulls it down, and yeah, so that's just a little explanation about how we do the job. But basically, you're just going to watch me weld in this and grind down my welds. So, let's cue the montage. Right guys, so the next task we've got is putting these window frames in. This is a job that's been put off for a little while because we've had more pressing matters, but now the time has come to get them in. They're primed and ready. They'll be painted once they're in properly, but I just want to get them fitted in nicely first. So you can have a bead of mastic round the back, pop rivet it in the fronts, and yeah, we're all good to go. Right guys, so as you can see, we've got the window frames in. Well, 2 of them are in, they're all masticed in as well. You might be able to see some of the little squishy mastic coming out the sides. So they're in nice and solid. There's just one left to do here. As you can hear, it's still rattly. Further to that, you're now going to see Johnny do some work on the roof domes that don't have tops on them in his garage. So I'll hand you over to him.
So here we are in the workshop. It's my workshop at home. And why we're here is because, well, you may have seen that these domes, they haven't got the little bit that's meant to go over them, stop water getting in, and they're made of cast iron. So we're going to have some fun. By fun, I mean pain, because welding cast iron is a pain. I've got some mild steel here, 2 strips. Now I need to bend these in 2 directions. I need to bend them round into like a crescent moon shape, as well as bend them this way into a little bit of a curve, because as you'll see here, they've got to match this radius here, and they keep that radius all the way around the dome. So this is going to be an interesting one, but hopefully an enjoyable one. So let's get on with that, and I will probably talk to you next, either when I come across a problem that's interesting or when I'm welding them together, because that is its own kind of separate genre. I'm going to go through a few different ways I could do it, and then the way I am going to do it and why. So let's get on with it. So what you saw me do there was literally just bend these 2 pieces of steel and try and get them to the right shape. Sorry it wasn't a very good time lapse. I have had a look at it and it wasn't the best, but from where I'm filming from, I can't actually see, you know, my frame, so I can't actually see what I'm filming, so I have to kind of guess, so my apologies for that one. But all I've done is I've just bent the steel on both of them so that then they'll fit over here. I've also primed the back with some red oxide primer because this is obviously the best view of this bit of metal that I'm going to get before it gets welded on. So we'll give it a prime, you know, make sure it's nicely covered. It's the best primer I've got. I haven't got any pea green here, unfortunately. So I've got 2 options here of how I can join this to that. I can use the more traditional method, which is preheat it all. Preheat this to about 300 degrees C, roughly. Preheat this to 300 degrees C in the oven, put them together, weld it all, and then I need to manage the temperature of it cooling down. I need to basically have it cool down as slow and as evenly as possible, so that there's no localized cooling, there's no hot spots, there's no cold spots, because what that does is it means that everything is shrinking at a slightly different rate. Now, the reason that's important for cast iron, whereas it's not important for steel, is cast iron is great in compression, not in tension. Basically what it'll do is it will tear itself apart, and it will tear the welds apart, it will make them crack, if you don't cool it down slowly and steadily and evenly. Because you'll have localized cooling, one bit will pull, and it will literally just rip, it will tear the cast iron to bits. So that's option number 1. That's not the option I'm going to go with. I'm going to go for a little bit of a different method, which is I'm going to use a 100% nickel rod to weld these 2 together, and to manage my heat, because you still get the same problem as, you know, as you would with not preheating it. But to manage my heat, I'm going to do a little bit, and let it cool down fully in between every little bit. I'm not going to make it cool down faster. I'm not going to put water on it. I'm going to let it cool down at its natural rate. Now, why would I use nickel? Well, it's basically the only real well, it's not the only way you can weld cast iron, but it's the best way of welding cast iron if you don't want to do a preheat and if you don't have to worry about it being, you know, the strongest thing in the world. If you want it to hold, you want it to be, you know, obviously not weak, but it's not the method that's used, you know. Usually you know, depending on how big your piece is, you'll heat it up to sometimes up to 1100 degrees C, and you will keep it there. Depending on how big the piece is, you will have it cool down over like 5 days. It all depends on what you're doing. So I really can't be asked with the hassle of heating and cooling it all. So I'm just going to use 100% nickel rod. Now, why nickel? Nickel is great for welding cast iron because it is more ductile than a regular rod. It also, when the cast iron mixes with it, because you do get a little bit of mixing, it just helps, you know, basically take up the slack. Where the cast iron would pull and just rip, the nickel is a little bit more ductile, flexes a little bit, but yet again, you still have to manage your heat, because if you just put one big old fat bead in there, lots of heat, and you just let it cool down quickly, you're gonna get it, you're gonna have it crack. So we've got to be really careful, about an inch at a time at the most. So an inch on this side, an inch on that side, let it cool down, inch, on all two of them. So that's what you're gonna see me do. If you're wondering what this piece of steel is here, that is a job that I did for Wardle Road, and it will be probably showcased on his channel soon, because I know he wants to pick this up soon, as it's all done. So go over to his channel, check it out, give it a like and subscribe if you enjoy, and subscribe if you enjoy this channel as well. So let's get on to doing that, and I'll see you hopefully when it all goes well. So that's how you fix 2 cast iron domes. This one came out a little bit better than this one over here, but you know, when you're hitting things with a hammer and you're bending them, you know, very, very rudimentary ways to get a result that looks like this, I'm very happy. So what I'm going to do is, we're not going to put these back in their original places, and when she's all done, I'll ask you guys where you think they are, and that will be a true test of whether these are good enough. But for now, we're going to go back to future Johnny and get on with something else, like fitting more window frames, or fitting window frames, or painting, or filling, or something else. We might not do any of that. Anyways, so let's get back to the shed. Let's get on with the DMU. But these are done. Very happy with that.
Right guys, so as you can see, we haven't quite hit our goal of getting the blue paint on the stuff, but that's just because these things take so much time. We spent a bit more time than we really wanted to doing the roof welding, but it's an essential task if we don't want it to leak in the future and want to have a nice dry passenger experience. But yeah, so the welding's all shored up on this side now. I can now hand on heart say that it's completely solid structurally and leak free, hopefully, on this side of the DMU. Before we move around to the next side, we've also been pop riveting the window frames, as you've just seen. Filler is on and ready to be sanded off, and then yeah, we'll get around to some grey primer. Sorry, mincing my words. Grey primer and blue paint, and then that is this side of the vehicle shored up and done for the time being until the windows go in.
So yeah, we didn't quite get it in blue today. But that's because we spent like the last day networking and not working, mainly because that's beneficial to us. You know, obviously we're doing all of this, but equally we have to look at actually, you know, everything that this needs to exist. So, but we had a very successful day, so we're very happy about that. So it's all good news for us in the future and for you in the future. So yeah, hopefully next episode we can have this in blue, as we plan to have this episode, because we've got 2 working days for the next video. So hopefully this will be in blue, and maybe, just maybe, you might see a window in at the very front, the first window, because we will probably do that off camera, because they're a quite finicky job, and obviously we have to look perfect every single time we do something, because we're not human, obviously. And why would you film your mistakes? Sometimes we do, but yeah, we try, you know, it streamlines the whole process. So that's what you'll see next time, hopefully. Obviously, it's been quite a successful, you know, episode. Scott on the dome, obviously we now filled all of this. I've fixed those 2 domes, which really were a ball ache. I don't think I can really state that enough. That wasn't easy. I literally bent it with a hammer, if that wasn't clear. So yeah, we'll have it, you know, it's all structurally secure now, so very happy with the progress, and we will see you in the next video.